episode 2 of the NFL offseason and what teams should do to really improve this year. And Cleveland Browns are up next. They're drafting second in the 2025 NFL draft, and they've got a really weird and really intense offseason coming up. With the Myles Garrett situation, of him demanding a trade, what do? Do they see if they can work that out, drag it all the way to basically the start of the season? Are they going to trade him before the draft? There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. And a lot of stuff needs to change at the Cleveland Browns organization because they, with the Deshaun Watson contract, is possibly the worst contract in all of sports, okay? But it kind of shoehorns them into situations where they're stuck. Now, for me, they need to do a full rebuild. That's my attitude. And that will include trading Myles Garrett, where right now he's in his prime. He's got a couple of years left on his contract. Yeah, there's going to be some dead money to deal with, but you could possibly get 2 first-round picks. A team isn't having to give Myles Garrett an extension because of the years on his contract. But then, at the same point, you've not got a quarterback for next year due to Deshaun's injuries. So what do you do there? And let's jump in and let's talk about it. We always talk about the 3 things that I think a team needs to do. And this is the second episode. Tennessee Titans, we've already done. Check it out if you missed it. But the first thing they need to do is figure out what they're doing with the quarterback situation. Because Deshaun's contract is so awful, they probably might need to do a restructure on that side of things. Obviously, Jameis is there last year, and I think even I played quarterback at one point for the Browns. When you look at last season alone, Deshaun Watson in 7 games was sacked 33 times. Jameis Winston within the 12 games of the season was sacked 24 times. That's 57 sacks across the season. That's not no quarterback is withstanding all of that, right? So you're sitting there going, do you need a mobile quarterback? Do you need someone like that? My thinking is you're going to need someone that's cheap because of all of the things going wrong with this roster. You're going to need someone that's cheap. For me, I probably would wait to see what Kirk Cousins' situation looks like because they're probably going to cut him. He's on the hook for loads of money anyway from the Falcons. You could probably get him on quite a nice cheap deal. That's my first point, is go and get Kirk Cousins. I think it just makes a lot more sense. He's still a good quarterback, a bit of a down year off of the Achilles, but I still think he's a good enough quarterback. You've still got some weapons on this team. The offensive line does need work. And when you hold the second overall pick, in my opinion, the quarterback class this year just isn't good enough. You could, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm drafting the quarterback later in the draft, see what you have out there. But I'm taking that second overall pick, okay? And if I'm trading Myles Garrett, I'm thinking about how can I trade him to a team that is a potential contender? And, there's chat around the Eagles, but they're drafting number 32. So if I'm Cleveland, I'm wanting even more because knowing that the Eagles are going to be good, you're going to want a lot out of them. And I don't think the Eagles are going to be in there. I know they might lose Josh Sweat, but I don't think they're going to do it. I was thinking the Steelers aren't going to do it. The 49ers, again, with Bosa, I don't think they'll do it. They're already having to spend a lot of money. They're having to move off of Debo and things like that. So I'm really struggling to see who it is that you could, in theory, give. Myles Garrett wants to play for a contender. At the same point, this guy has been trying to force your hand with a trade. So it's like, you got to find the middle ground where you got to go, yeah, if we if you're traded there, you're going to make this team so much better that they'll be the contender that you want them to be. He talks about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are drafting 12th. That's a conversation. A couple of first-round picks maybe to the Cowboys. Obviously, Commanders, too far later in the draft for it to be worth it. And obviously, they're going to be good for a few years, like the Eagles. You don't really want to trade him within the AFC. He won't be going to places like the Bucks. The Falcons would love him. And I think that it's an interesting move. They would love him. Obviously, they get 0 pass rush in Atlanta. So that could be a ploy, maybe. But for me, you definitely need to trade Myles Garrett. You're just not going to be any good for a while to come yet. There's no point holding on to him just for the sake of it. You look at the rest of the teams drafting. He's not going to want to go to the Panthers. They would crucially need him, and you'd get the 8th overall pick. He's not going to go there. The Bears, maybe. You'd expect the 10th overall pick. I mean, the Cowboys at 12. The Colts, obviously rookie quarterback. You know, the Falcons are drafting at 15. Cardinals at 16. They need an edge. The Bengals won't do it. Obviously, they've got Hendrickson. I don't see the Seahawks doing it. The Bucks have cap issues, as do Denver. Steelers not going to do it, obviously, with TJ Watt. The Chargers, Khalil Mack, he might be hitting free agency. The Chargers are a shout at 22. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, I'm all over this as well. Just trying to think of who else. I think reality. I mean, look, Detroit might be in there. Again, you're picking 28. You're going to be picking late into the season going forward, just like the Packers and Chargers, to be fair. So for me, if I could trade him to like Green Bay, I think Green Bay gives me the idea that you're going to go to a contender and they're good. Now, they're in a difficult division, but they're good. But I'm taking that number 23 pick, okay? At 2, if Abdul Carter's there, I'm taking him. Now, you might take Travis Hunter because you might end up trading Denzel Ward because he might want out. And Travis Hunter obviously can play 2 ways. You know, when you're up against the cap the way they are, that might be a bit more beneficial that you can play basically 2 positions. All right? I know it's a bit ridiculous, but, you know, if he's a cornerback, you know, full-time, part-time on offense as wide receiver, it's something to go alongside Judy, you know. We'll see about that. But, yeah, I think Cousins, draft Carter if he's there. If not, I'm then thinking I'll trade back. The Raiders are at 6. You get the Raiders' 6th overall pick, you get a 1st-round pick next year, and you go, well, at 6, is Mason Graham there? Is Will Campbell there? Is Will Johnson there? You know, is one of the linebackers from Georgia still there? So, I mean, even McMillan, you know, that you could go that route. And I would trade that back. I would trade Garrett. I would get the let's say the Packers 23rd pick and another 1st-round pick and some more stuff to go alongside it. Maybe you go and get one of their young wide receivers. They're on their rookie deal. Maybe that's the way you go. If that's my thinking. I would trade Garrett and I would draft down stockpile picks, and knowing that the offensive line sucks. Campbell's obviously there. Kelvin Banks, you'd probably get. I mean, hell, if you're at 6, is there a potential to trade back even further? Maybe pick up in a 2nd-round pick? Because the way I'm looking at it, you've got such an expensive roster, you need to stockpile young players out of the draft. That's my attitude. So I would trade back from 2. Hell, even if it's the Giants just coming up from 3, maybe you get a 3rd-round pick and you're only moving back 1 and you can still get a Carter or Hunter. But obviously you've got the Raiders down at 6, the Jets at 7. Let's not rule out the Jets at 7 needing a quarterback. And if you could trade back there, the way I look at it with the Browns are not going to be good for years to come. The quarterback situation's crap. The cap situation's crap. If I'm them, I'm looking to trade back. I'm looking to stockpile picks. Even if they're trading back down to 7, even towards 10, I'm doing that. I'm stockpiling 1sts and 2nds and 3rds and all that stuff. And then I'm looking over the next sort of 2 or 3 years to get good. It's like what the Saints have to deal with at the moment as well. Up against the cap, Ross is not very good at the moment due to that situation. I'm trading Garrett. I'm going to have the 23rd overall pick. Let's say he goes to Green Bay. And I'm going to trade back down to 6 with the Raiders. And what I do from there, offensive line, I would look at Will Campbell from LSU. And at 23, is Ibuka there potentially from Ohio State? I'm not too sure, but that's what I would do. Those things, I would look to sign Cousins on a cheap deal because he's going to be cheap. Shockingly, I know. I would look to trade Garrett for the 23rd overall pick to Green Bay plus more. And I would look to trade back potentially with the Oakland Raiders, get 2 firsts, including that 6th, draft Will Campbell to replace Jedrick Wills. Let me know what you think on the Cleveland Browns down below. I'll see you next time for the New York Giants. Peace.